We've been here all day, okay? All we built today was what? We got a form, we got a nav bar. Okay, we did two things. We built a form and a nav bar. So if you see, if I type in my email, I type in my name, my last name, my profile photo, and I sign in, watch what happens in the nav bar. Okay, watch what happens. My email and my avatar pops up over there. But the first thing I see is a big problem is, why do I still see a form to sign in if I've already signed in? So let's implement hiding this. So we can look at our authentication form. We can look at its signature, okay? Let's just look at it. Let's just look at the props that we get whenever the component first mounts, okay? We'll say auth form right here. We'll save it. We'll look at our console. And what do we see? An object. And what do we get in here? There's one property that's a function. Do we have enough data to know whether or not a user is signed in yet? No, we do not. We need to be able to look at some data to determine whether or not the user is signed in. So, obviously today is about Redux, and we've talked about Redux a lot. We talked about the Redux store. So we're going to apply these concepts. So what do we need? At this point, we need to look at our Redux store. If I show you the Redux store right here, you guys can see what we have, right? We have this right here, right? But we need to inject this, okay? We need to inject this data into our authentication form component. And to do that, we're going to do this thing I've shown you before. Const map state to props is a function. Okay, and it returns an object. This object is going to be the props that we send in. So we're gonna send in a new prop. We're gonna call is signed in. What's the value of this going to be? How can we determine this? Well, we can look at our state. Let's look at our state. And then we look at our state, what are we interested in? Our current user. We're looking at our current user. If our state has a current user and the email is not equal to nil, then is signed in will be true. Okay? I know, this may seem a little bit confusing, but I'm going to show you in just a second. Watch. I'm going to apply this function. I'm going to pass it as the first argument to the connect's first function call. So I'm going to save it. I'm going to refresh, and let's look at the properties that were sent in. Okay? Remember. On line 11 here, we're looking at the properties that were sent into our authentication form component. If I look at console, am I signed in? Right? Because my current user has an email that is just an empty string. Look, that's the logic right here. It's on line 50. Line 50. We're just looking at our state. We're looking at the current user inside of our state. We're looking at that user's email. If that value is an empty string, that means the user is not signed in. So watch how this is going to change, okay? So I'm gonna type in .loyboy. Oh shit, .loyboy. Okay, whatever, that works. Loy, tran, and then we're gonna type in some puppies, and I'm gonna clear this console. Watch what happens to the prop is signed in, okay? Watch this right here. I'm gonna click sign in. So I'm signed in now, right? Okay, so what can we do now? So we can say, if props.is signed in is true, we can return what? Hello there. Thanks for signing in. Watch what happens now. Okay, we're gonna start all over again, okay? So we're gonna do .loyboy, loy, tran, profile photo, sign in. And what happened? We did in fact get a sign in. So this is where you show what, guys? Anything, homepage, yeah, anything. I don't even care. I don't even care. The truth is, I don't care. I say that a lot, and what I mean is I don't care what you show at this point. I just need you to know how to hide forms, show forms, shit like that, okay? Very basic. Okay, so now let's start over. So you guys will see here in our nav bar that we have this little ugly thing right here, right? Got this ugly ass thing right here. So we need to do the inverse for the nav bar, okay? Let's go ahead and look at our nav bar, and we can do pretty much the exact same thing. So now we're going to we'll just go ahead and we'll call it the same key, okay? We can call it whatever we want, but I like this name of this key right here, okay? And we're just gonna follow the same logic. So is signed in if the email if the email is not equal to an empty string, then the user is signed in, logically speaking. So I'm going to delete this right here so we don't confuse ourselves. And then we're going to jump back over to our nav bar, and we're just going to console log pops. Okay, pops. Let's go ahead and add a nav bar so we don't get confused. Nav bar. Okay, so I'm going to save. Nav bar, it's got a couple things. Is signed in is false. Okay, so I'm going to type in that Loy tran, an image. Okay, place this image in. Watch what happens to that to the props that we send into navbar. It's signed in as what? It's true because I just signed in. Okay, so now we can just apply this logic, right? We can just apply it. We can say, hey, okay, so if props dot is signed in, if not, right? If this is not true, then what? Return a div, and what's this div gonna say? Please sign in. So now you don't even see it. Oops, I fucked up. I completely hit the nav bar. So how else can we solve this problem, guys? How else can we fix this? We can just do it right here. So we can just do, let's just go ahead and look at this condition, okay? We're gonna say, hey, if this is true, what? Return an H1, and it'll say please sign in. Otherwise, we'll return all this right here, okay? I know this is kind of sloppy code. I apologize, but you guys don't have to deal with it. And just know this is what you guys make me do every day. Okay, so there we go. And I need to delete this. Conditional logic right here. So now we see please sign in, right? So I imagine that whenever we click here, we go Loy, we go tran, we add our profile URL. I anticipate that when I click this button, this text will change and our form will hide, okay? And that is in fact the behavior that we observe. Okay, so what is the very last step? The very last step is, if I'm signed in and I want to sign out, what the hell, how can I do that? So we'll say, hey, thanks for signing in, and we're gonna add a button. Okay, we add a button here, and we're just gonna pay attention to when the user clicks it, okay? We're gonna say, on sign out, just call it sign out right now, okay? So we say dat Loy boy. Okay, I'm thinking about to hard code this because I just want to do quick, okay? Who does anyone here think they can help me make this work? Someone help me think they can make this work. I want to sign out. We're not setting state anymore.
You have a function and you do the unclick.
We call that function, but what function are we gonna fire? How can we update state? Or how can we update the Redux store?
Hello.
No, it's before that. You've gone too far already. You've already moved too quickly. There's a magical function I introduced today, other than connect. Dispatch. Thank you, Phil. So remember, whenever we do this connect thing down here, we get this free function, okay? Redux gives us this free function, and this function allows us to change the state, okay? So I can do an on change here, or my bad, on click. And what do we do here? Pops.dispatch, and we call that function, and then we pass it in an object, okay? That object has a type, and it has a type property, and the type property or key is called whatever we want. We can call it sign out. Just call it sign out, okay? If I save this and click it, will it work? What else do we need to do, guys? We need to write the logic that will handle this state change, right? Okay, we're gonna write the logic that handles. We need to write a case for this action. If there's an action of type sign out, what do we want to do? Do we just want to return state? Is that gonna work? We can just return initial state. I think this will work.
Yeah.
This is gonna set everything back to what it was. Okay, so let's test it. Okay, let's test it and get my puppies. Let's say, okay, dat Loy boy. God, man, why do I keep doing that? Loy, tran, image. We sign in. Okay, we're signed in now, right? We have a current user. Let's look at our Redux. Let's look at our Redux over here. We see that our state is what? We got a current user, it's got an email, it's got a last name, first name, profile photo. Now, if we click this button, what line of code is going to execute? A lot of them, but what's the one that we just wrote that we're interested in? Is this one right here? I guarantee you this is what's going to happen. All these values are going to become empty strings. Okay, so let's watch it. There we go, guys. Do you have any questions?
Why is the picture still there?
Because I did not update the state here. So okay, fine, that's a legitimate question. The picture is still there because inside of the authentication form, set profile photo URL. Whenever we dispatch this, we didn't set this to an empty string. So let's try this again, okay? So we're gonna set this to be an empty string whenever we dispatch this. Okay, so let's try this again. So we go back here. Here's our current user, Loy, Tran. We enter. Okay, that looks good. We sign in. We got that image here in our email in our nav bar. We sign out, and the image is gone. It's because a moment ago, this value is not in state. The value that is dictating our profile photo URL is actually from the local state. It's from this local state right here. Okay? Does anyone have any questions? Guys, there are many different ways to write these functions. You can call them whatever you want. I want you guys to see that on the right, lines 19 through 24 is exactly equivalent to lines 26 through 35. Not exactly. Hold on. Let me make it exactly. Okay, now it's exactly equivalent. There you go. Okay? So both of these will work, guys, okay? I'm going to go ahead and just go and swap them out just to test, okay? We're going to swap out that one with this one. We change it. Let's go and try our puppies again. We see that Loy boy, Loy, Tran, my image. I sign in, and it does in fact work still. Okay, this is the black magic of JavaScript here, okay? There's a million different ways to do anything. The same thing, okay? And we sign out. Okay, so any more questions? Any questions? Please, anyone, anything. I don't know what else to talk about. Anyone, ask me anything. Ask me what my favorite color is. What am I doing this weekend? Something. I don't know. I don't think that far ahead. I don't even know what I want for breakfast, and that was 6 hours ago. No, it was like 8 hours ago, and I still don't know what I want for breakfast.
What's your girlfriend's name?
Dip. Her name is actually called Jungle. That's her real name. Her name is Jungle. I'm going to edit this out, okay? On Zalo, I gave her the nickname Jungle. Hold on.
And this is one of
Jungle. I call her Jungle Idol because she eats apples with worms in them. She doesn't actually actively do it, but one time I bought some apples and they had little worms in them. You know those little white worms? And she said, it's okay. Na ang tao, min ang na kam sao. So in Vietnamese, that means, it means the worms eat the apples, we eat the worms, no problem. It's just like we're eating apples. That's what she said to me. I thought that was fucking hilarious. Ever since then, I called her Jungle. Okay, I'm fucking around, guys. I'm fucking around. Like, but seriously, come on, man. Like.
That's her name, bitch.
I mean, this girl I'm gonna be with, I think, unless I get tired of her or something, I guess. She's my favorite ex-girlfriend. I think it was Charles. Come on, guys, ask me a question. I don't know what else to say. I've literally walked through this like 3 times. I'm trying to make sure. I'm trying not to leave any stone unturned. Okay. Is there any part of this confusing? How about I ask this the different way? Okay, guys, you're applying for my job, a job at my company. I ask you what Redux is. What is Redux, Flung? What kind of state? No, not component state. Think about it. Remember the first thing we did in this class is we made 2 boxes, right? And then we could get the boxes to change. We can get those boxes to change their email and to share that data back and forth by pushing our state up into our app and then having our app tell both boxes how to behave. That's the first thing we did today, remember? Right? So we don't actually need Redux to store component level state. We do need it to store state, but a very special type of state. Global state. It's either global, application, something like that, okay? It's for global state, something that needs to be known everywhere, okay? So why do we want to use Redux? Gwen?
Because we don't want to store a lot of state in our app.
Correct. Additionally, one more thing I want you to say, okay? One more thing. I came to realize, man, I'm just gonna start talking to you guys like I'm interviewing you from now on. Fuck it. Yeah, I want you guys talking to me like you're applying at a job, okay? What is this? What's the benefit of this right here? It's because we don't have to pass props, right? Like, you guys notice on lines 10 through 11, we're not passing props. And in fact, our application component now is only what, 14 lines? If you guys went back and, no, I'm not gonna talk about that. Just know that it simplifies using our components in certain ways. But on the other hand, I also want you guys to tell me what's difficult. What's difficult with Redux? The word is not install here. The word is not install. I want you to use a different word.
Set up store.
The initial configuration is kind of difficult. The initial configuration is a little bit difficult, right? You gotta know what this thing does, kinda, not really. You call a function, you pass it a couple arguments. Okay? You define a function which will be passed as an argument to the function down here, right? Isn't that what we're doing? Reducer is simply a function. This function, what do we do with it? We only use it in one place. We define a function on line 15, guys. Where's the one line in our application that we use it? No, we define a reducer on line 15. This reducer is a function. We only use this reducer in one place. Where is the one place we use this? Where? We use it as the argument to a call to create store. We're calling this function create store, okay? Think about this. We're calling that function. We pass this function, this first class citizen, as an argument to create store. So we're only using the reducer in one place, okay? Okay, so I've been shouting for a while. There's a bunch of little rules that you guys gotta know. I hope I showed them to you. Obviously, I didn't show you all of them, but
Store is a built-in function.
yes, this create.
Anywhere else except there.
Exactly. You only use create store one time. You should only have one create store call. Just like you only ever have one app.js. Just like you only ever have one react dom.render. Okay? And actually, one more thing, guys. What else could you stick inside of here? Anyone know? You have something like this. Remember how we had routers? So it's now like we'd have something potentially like this, and we start defining, different ones potentially. But don't worry about that right now. That's not the point of this lesson. The point of this lesson is to just know how the store works, guys.
Would that be a better practice than to throw it in the app?
So I've seen it done a lot of ways, to be honest with you. There is no correct way because almost every single tutorial I've ever read, they've done it differently. They've set it up differently. So typically, guys, what you'll see here. Let me give you a quick. I'm not sure if this is the right way, but normally people don't stick reducers inside of the same index file. They'll create a folder called store, right? And inside the store, we'll have something called store.js, and then we'll have something called reducers.js. Okay, and what the hell goes inside of here? So we'll pull out our store right here. We'll pull out the store. We'll paste it in here. So now we're seeing complaints about create store is undefined, store is undefined. So now we need to copy this. And we'll paste it over here. Okay, and now it's complaining that we're not using store, so we need to export default store because we're gonna use this somewhere else. Okay, so where are we going to import this? We're gonna import this into the place we just had it. So we're gonna do import store from store. My bad. This is usually called Redux. Okay, so this is called Redux right here. Okay, so this is called Redux. And lastly, now we need to extract out our reducer. So we take out our reducer, and let's go ahead and actually take out this initial state as well. This is typically also stored the same. So we're gonna stick this in our reducers. Okay, that looks good. Now we're gonna export default reducer. Okay, now inside of our store, we can import it. Import reducer from store.js. No, from reducers. Come on, guys. From reducers. And the reason why we call it reducers is because there are many different types of reducers. I don't know if that's true, actually. Like I said, I only give a shit about current user. I want you guys to all think about something I want to know in every single component. Okay? Go to Facebook, fucking click around. Tell me what thing needs to know about everything. Let me ask you. So for example, right? We go over to Facebook, right? I see here in this thing right here, we have a bunch of Facebook posts, right? If this sidebar on the left does this thing need to know about our posts? This sidebar? No, it doesn't. Where are we showing a post? This thing in the middle, this news feed does not need to know about posts. Let's think about this thing right here, suggested friends. Does this need to know about posts? No. Okay, what about our friends requests? Does this friends request data need to be in our news feed? No. Okay, I'm telling you, I've been thinking about this for a long time. There's no other thing I need to know everywhere other than current user. So I'm telling you, but just know that sometimes you will run across this and some people will do it. I don't know why they did it, to be honest with you. So let's save. Okay, a second ago I was refactoring. I saved, we imported our store, we saved. Okay, so all of a sudden this index looks a lot cleaner, right? And it's a little bit more organized. So if we go back to our localhost 3000 and we test our application, make sure it still works. Sorry, I don't know why I really like puppies right now. I'm kind of confused myself. Ooh, that one's cute. That one's cute as fuck. And everything still works. Okay? Okay, so there's any more questions? Phil asked a second ago whether or not... What did you ask a second ago? I forgot. Something about... So yeah, so sometimes there's something called routes. This is where you'll have a whole bunch of routes inside of here. But like, don't worry about that right now. I don't even think it's that important, to be honest with you. I saw some of you guys researching something like single page applications.
You're looking at a screen?
What?
You're looking at a screen?
I saw someone looking at this. I look at your screens all the time. I look at your screen every day. I come here and look at your screens.
There's no privacy anymore.
So there's something called single page applications, right? And that's what we want to get at one day. We want our entire app to live on one thing. So to me, routing and single page applications are almost like counterintuitive. You know, I can't like both want to be a blood and be a crypt. Okay, it's just like you can't be both of them. I can't both want to like. What's something you can't do both of, right?
You cannot keep the cake and eat it.
No, well, that's analogy is trying to say that people want both. But in life, certain things you cannot want both, because if you want one thing, that means you have to, you naturally hate something.
Before you want to die.
Yeah, exactly, something like that. Okay, so a single page application means everything is on one page. You know, you just hide certain shit. Okay, you hide a forum, you show a canvas game, some shit like that. Okay, you hide a bunch of shit, you show some shit on one page. I should only ever be on Facebook.com. I never ever want to see any other route. Okay, that does not mean we cannot make API requests to other routes, but this route will never ever change. That's what an SSR or SPA is, single page application.
Why would someone want to build this thing?
Because they're supposed to load faster. The page doesn't refresh. It's just like pros and cons for everything, right? So I'm not really sure. Like, this approach avoids interruption of user experience between successive pages. That means that like the page just like reacts, right? And the page doesn't refresh. You know how certain pages, if you do something, it'll kick you over to a different page, right? You know what I'm talking about? So you see a spinner for a little bit, and then you're just sitting there thinking, the computer's running, etc. The idea with SPAs is that you don't want that. They're trying to get away from that. So that almost defeats the purpose of routing completely. So there are pros and cons. You guys aren't expected to know that right now. Okay, so you guys have seen how I've extracted this and how to sign in, sign out, how to pass data between two different components that are not passing props. we've actually removed state from all our components, from our app component entirely. Because remember this morning, okay? Just a high level overview. This morning we had 2 boxes, right? We wanted these boxes to share data, right? We did figure out how to do that, but we ended up having to do what? Get all our state in here, right? Set email. Something like that, right? Something like this, okay? And yes, this is workable for right now, but just know that as this gets longer, this becomes a lot more difficult to maintain, right? And then that doesn't even solve the original problem. What was one of the original problems? What are the other problems? We now need to pass this, right? We need to pass this each time. Okay? Does that make sense to everyone? So we're avoiding this, okay? We're avoiding sending pops. And this may not be seem particularly useful right now, but I want you guys to think right now. You guys now know what Redux is. I want to see if you guys could build this. It's a very simple application. All it keeps track of is a count. Okay, that's all it does, keep track of a count. And then this count can be initiated from any other component. And just notice that like right now, like what could counter be here? What could a counter component be? Huh? So for example, right, what is a component that can have another component inside of it, which can have another component, which can have another component? What about this nav bar? What about this thing right here, this post? Right, we have a post component. It has a post body component. Inside of that, there's an avatar component with an avatar header. Below that, there's another component for comments. Inside of our comments component, there's a comment form component. Okay, and if you were to pass this through all these components, it might become difficult quite quickly to manage this. All right, so I've been talking for 27 minutes. I'm gonna stop talking and let you guys work. I want you guys to do